Hola, soy yo, Vicky, otra vez. Now, this video, I'm speaking in English because what I want to do in this video, just to let you know, it's not about, it is about learning Spanish, but it's not a video with any information on learning Spanish. What I wanted to do, because what I've realised is, sometimes people, when they go in my channel, they don't know where to go for the resources that they particularly need, depending on what point they are. If they're a beginner, or if they're intermediate, or they don't know exactly what their level is, so they're not sure which videos they need or where to find them on my channel. So what I thought I'd do is a video that explains how my method works. And so you can see, for those of you who either come to me for classes or have been to me for classes, you probably know a little bit better about my method. Those of you who maybe we've never met, and thank you for watching if we have never met, and you've subscribed to my channel and you've started watching my channel, but you're not really sure of where your level stands with my method. So what I decided to do is a video that explains my method, how it works, where you can find the resources that you need for your particular needs, your particular Spanish needs. So basically, I have been teaching a little bit about me as well, because again, if you haven't been to me for class, if you haven't met me personally, you probably don't know much about me, except that my name's Vicky and I have a YouTube channel that teaches Spanish and English. But basically, I have been in Spain for over 20 years, which is really scary to think about. And during that time, I started off teaching English, and when I learned enough Spanish, I began teaching Spanish 20 years ago, and I've developed a method that I think makes Spanish as easy as possible for for English speakers. So basically, I teach Spanish through English. So my explanations are in English. I know exactly what you're all going through because I've been through it too. I had to learn Spanish as a foreign language. I know the problems. Everybody seems to end up the same questions, the same problems. So my method is designed to help you get your head around Spanish as an English speaker. You may not be English. I've had students of all different nationalities, but what they've all had in common is they understand English. So when they come to me, because I can explain to them in English what the reasons are behind things, because as adults we like explanations. We need to know why. That's just, our brains are more fixed than children. Children just accept things. As we get older, we want to know why. Well, why is it like that? Why do we say it like that? And how does that relate to English? And that, I think, is the beauty, if you like, of my method for an English speaker. That when people come to me for classes, you'll know that obviously that normally I'm in class, and then I have a Spanish speaker as well. So she has the authentic Spanish accent, if you like, and between us, we think our students have the best of both worlds, because Liz explains them things in Spanish, and if people don't understand, then I can explain to them in English, and that way people always understand what they're doing. That's the point of it. So let me explain a little bit about my system, if you like. I have a series of books, which if you've been watching the channel, you've probably seen me holding up, brandishing from time to time. And what I think I'm going to do is explain to you the contents, I'm not going to go into massive detail in it, but just so you know. So if you're considering buying a book and you're wondering, well, you're not sure which level to buy, remember, you can always email me, message me. I will talk to you over the email or the message and tell you what I think would be the best book for you. Let's start with level 1. Now, break the language barrier level 1, don't be misled that it says level 1, because quite often people think, oh, level 1, I'm not level 1. But my levels are not perhaps as basic as some places you may go to. I don't teach holiday Spanish, you know, it's not just like teaching someone how to get by when they're on holiday. I teach Spanish in the sense that you are learning the components, you put it together. I can't teach you to speak Spanish, only you can do that. I can teach you the components, and you have to learn to put them together with the help, obviously, of the book. And that's the purpose. All my books have a specific formula, if you like. It's very systematic. A subject is introduced, then we do a spoken practice, normally a written practice, a translation, one from Spanish to English, one from English to Spanish, and a conversation practice. This is every subject. We do that right from the beginning. So break the language barrier level 1 does start at the beginning. It starts with the alphabet, because pronouncing the Spanish alphabet properly is key to all your pronunciation as you go along with Spanish. It's not like English, where it doesn't really matter whether you know the alphabet or not, because it doesn't help you with pronouncing words. In Spanish, it does help you with pronouncing words. So we start with the alphabet, then we go into numbers, etc. So if you may think, oh, well, I know the alphabet and I know numbers, but do you? Because in my experience, people sometimes come along and say, oh yeah, I know the alphabet, but when was the last time that you used it? When was the last time that you spelt something out? When was the last time that you actually practiced your phonetic pronunciation in Spanish? These are the sort of things that always need recapping, because it could be 3 months from now before you need to actually spell something out to somebody, by which time you may have forgotten some of the key letters. Anyway, that's my advice. So as we go along through level 1, we start, as I say, with the alphabet, with the numbers. We move very quickly on. So this is what I'm saying. It's not just concentrating on that like for ages, but we move quite quickly on to ser and estar. Again, fundamental to learning Spanish. One of the first things that you should get your head around when you're learning Spanish. We then go on to regular verbs in the present tense. Level 1 is all about the present tense. That's one thing that I would say. There are no past tenses in level 1. It's all about the present tense. We learn the AR verbs, ER verbs, and IR verbs in the present tense. We then go on to some irregular verbs, diphthongs, stem changing verbs. The verb to go, gustar, tener. So we, quickly get into some irregular verbs. My system, my method, it is grammar based, but it's what I call need to know grammar. I'm not trying to teach you to pass a degree in Spanish, unless you may want to go on and pass a degree in Spanish. It's a communication based grammar that you need, that you can't do without. Don't let anybody tell you that you can learn Spanish conversationally. You can't, because you need to understand the grammar in Spanish. It's different from English. It's very grammatically based, so you at least need to know how verbs work. Don't get me wrong, you can learn something if you just speak to people, or but people sometimes will say to me, oh, I don't want to learn grammar, I just want conversation. How are you going to have a conversation if you don't know any grammar? That would be my answer to that. And even more so for Spanish, when the verbs, don't be frightened of verbs. The verbs are so important in Spanish, so much more important, which you'll find, and you'll know already if you've done any Spanish at all. The ending on the verb is everything. So you can't learn, it depends how well you want to learn it. Do you want to speak like a pigeon, or do you want to speak proper Spanish. Okay, so level 1. I would recommend level 1 unless you're really quite advanced, unless you're really happy, confident with the present tense, completely confident in speaking in the present tense. I would still recommend level 1. Even if you started maybe on level 2, you need to go back through level 1 for the good grounding it will give you. Okay, once you've got through level 1, which I think most people quite enjoy level 1, and they don't find it too bad, it's quite simply explained, and then they go to level 2. Now, level 2 is more difficult. Level 2 I call the pain barrier, because level 2 we go into reflexive verbs, past tenses, several past tenses that you need, and this is always when my students they get into level 2, if they're going to struggle a little bit with Spanish, it's normally on this level. Now, I'm not trying to scare you off, I'm just telling you the truth, because if you're expecting that, I don't know about you, but I'm one of those people, I just like to know the worst case scenario, and then anything else is an improvement. Not everybody struggles with level 2, but it is probably the most difficult level, I think. And for me, when I was learning Spanish, some of the past tenses I found really quite tricky and took me quite a long time to remember and to differentiate between the two. So I explain it as simply as possible. Again, we've got translations, we've got conversation practices, we've got all sorts of exercises to practice, and also to encourage us to get speaking and making questions. In all my books, there's a lot of making questions, because making questions is how you keep a conversation going. Oh, and by the way, in all my books, the answers are in the back. So you can't, if you're not, obviously, if you're here doing classes, that's what we're here for, the teachers. But if you're at home studying on your own, the answer key is included. There's YouTube videos to back up every section for you to listen to for pronunciation, etc. And yeah, but you can check your answers in the back, and anytime you're not sure, you can always message me, send me an email. I support all my students, and I have to say, for all the books that I've sold over the years, very rarely, maybe I could count on the fingers of one hand, the number of times somebody has had to ask me because I haven't understood. And I'm very proud of that, because I do try and explain it as clearly as possible, and I think that that works, because otherwise I think I would get many more inquiries or doubts or questions. So yes, the pain barrier, past tenses, reflexive verbs, algo, nada, alguien, nadie, someone and nobody, etc. Pronouns, pesky pronouns. The first time you see them is in this book. The other thing you need to remember is everyone struggles with the same things in Spanish. Anyone who's an English speaker, not only English, but an English speaker, I know they will struggle with ser and estar, pronouns, verb endings, because, you know, in English especially, the verbs are so easy. In English, it's the pronunciation that's difficult, and also the framing of sentences. But the actual the actual grammar is not so difficult in English. So that's something that we we have to get our heads around in Spanish. But I always call it the click. Once it clicks, it's like, oh yeah, it's actually easier than English. Sometimes it's so easy, it's difficult, because we try and make it complicated, because in English it's complicated the way we say things. So that's level 2, the pain barrier. Most of my students who get through to the end of this book, because what I want to say to you is, if you find when you get about halfway and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I'm never going to remember all these tenses, I'm never going to, wait till you get to the end, because you've got to get to the end, because by the end you've done some practice of comparing tenses, etc. And, you know, I'm not saying it's easy by the end of it, it's not easy, but it seems to slot into place. That's not just my opinion, that's the opinion of my students over the years. And if people get through the level 2 and they're still enjoying learning Spanish, they normally carry on and get really quite good in Spanish. So, if not fluent as possible. I mean, fluency is a difficult thing to explain or to categorize. To me, you're fluent if you can get by in any situation. Doesn't mean to say you know every single word. Doesn't mean to say you say everything perfectly. I'm sure I don't say everything perfectly all the time, especially when I'm out and about, if I'm nervous or etc. But you know what? If you can get by in any situation, as far as I'm concerned, you're fluent. Think about somebody you know who speaks really good English. Do they say everything perfectly correctly? No. But you understand everything they say and you think, oh my God, your English is brilliant. Be confident and realise that you will get things wrong, little things wrong, but as long as you get the big things right, the verbs especially, you'll be fine. Okay, so this is level 2, the pain barrier for your past tenses. If you don't know any past tenses and you want to learn the past tenses, this is the level for you. But as long as you have, you know, that you are totally confident in the present tense. Now, I've been tweaking my YouTube channel. All these, I have a playlist for each level now. So I'm going to put all those in the description box. So when you're doing, say, level 2 or level 1, and you're looking for the video that backs up that particular exercise that you're doing, or the sequence of videos, because they're all in sequence now, you go onto the playlist for level 1 or the playlist for level 2. And I'm going to put all those in the description box. Okay, so you've got through level 3. Yay, you've got through the pain barrier. And it's all plain sailing from then on. Well, not quite, but level 3 you'll find is so much easier than level 2, because now we go into the future. I mean, we build on level 2. All my books, all my method, it's not that you do one thing and then you just leave that behind and you never do it again. It's a gradual build. So we're practicing still the past tenses, the present tenses, etc. But we're learning the future tenses. So we're always adding a little bit, always with the same method. The subject is introduced to you, we do a comprehension, we do some questions, we do a conversation practice, probably a Sarah Nestar practice on every, you know, because that's a constant thing that we have to keep looking at. And in level 3 then we look into the future tenses, which are much easier than the past tenses. So if you can get your head around level 2, level 3 will be so much easier. But the tricky thing, of course, is just you're learning more things. But don't forget, you're not learning more verbs. The verbs that you're using, they're the same verbs. You're just learning to use them in different ways. Once you've got through level 1, you've got a good basis of verbs then. And then as you go through each book level, you're just learning different ways of saying them, but you're not starting from scratch. And you also, by then, you're understanding the way Spanish grammar works better. So it does get easier. It really does get easier. Okay, so what have we got in level 3? We have, well, we start off with some practice of the past tenses, revision of the past tenses. And then we go on to the fabulous future, as I say. We do the calming conditional, as I call it, like what we would do. So we do what we're going to do, what we will do, what we would do. We do all those. And then we go on to more pronouns, more pesky pronouns. And then what people can't wait to do normally, we look at problematic, por and para. Now, quite often, right from the beginning, people will say to me, oh, can you just explain to me the difference between por and para? Well, when you, or para and por, whichever way around you want to do it, when you come to do that in my book, in my level 3 book, you will see that no, I can't just explain what the difference is between por and para because it is complicated. It's like ser and estar. There's different times we use por, different times we use para, and we just have to learn them. But it's a whole chapter or a couple of chapters in itself. So it's not an easy 10-minute explanation when to use por, when to use para. It's quite complicated, but it's here in my level 3 book, along with practice of all the tenses. We then do the irksome imperative, as I call it. So you'll be learning how to tell people what to do in Spanish. Sit down, come in, stand up, read this. Yeah, tell me, etc. These are imperatives, commands, and we'll be learning how to do those. So again, along with translations, we practice verbs in verb tables to remember all the endings, and again, all the answers in the back. You can always contact me, anything you're not sure about, and it's all backed up by YouTube videos. There's a playlist for level 3 as well, which will all be in the description box. Normally, once someone's got through level 2, they go right to the end of my method, my method of learning, my courses, because if they get through level 2, they'll do level 3, and then they will finish off, grammatically speaking, with level 4. Level 4, we go into the sexy subjunctive. I call it that because people are so frightened of it, so I just want to make it sound more interesting. And really, the subjunctive is not to be scared of. Again, it's easier than the past tenses. Most difficult thing about the subjunctive is we do the present subjunctive and the past subjunctive. Is knowing when to use it. It doesn't make sense to us because we do have it in English, but our verbs don't change. You wouldn't even know you were using it in English. Whereas in Spanish, you do. You have to change the verbs because the verbs are so important. So it's difficult for that because it's another thing to learn, but it's not difficult in itself. It's not difficult to make. It's not difficult to use. And you may. I do remember when I was learning Spanish, I sort of ignored it for about 2 years because I couldn't get my head around it. But then when I started teaching Spanish, people obviously were asking about it. I thought, perhaps I should get to grips with the subjunctive. And of course, that was many years ago now, and I think I am. But I'm sure, it's not an exact science, the subjunctive. So it's not like a mathematical problem that's got a formula. You just have to learn certain expressions where you need it, you have to use it, etc. And it'll never be easy peasy, but at least you'll recognise it as well when somebody else uses it. So in this level, that's what concentrates on, the subjunctive, making it, using it, conversation practices, translations, etc., just like the other books. So all the formula, all the method is similar, running right through the books, just different subjects. So, the subjunctive is to sort of touch up your Spanish, really. Once you've done everything else, you can do without the subjunctive. You would get along okay. You would understand what people were saying more or less. People would understand you. But if you really want to sort of finish off your Spanish, or if you like, perfect it, you need the subjunctive for that. And also then at the end of this level, apart from recapping all the tenses or etc. that we've done, there's a lot of practice, because then after you've done, to me, this is enough grammar that you need. There is other grammar. But again, if you're not going to do a degree in Spanish, why do you need all that grammar? You only need the grammar you need to communicate. And so what we do then at the end of this level is we practice it. There's lots of practices, translations either way, English, Spanish, Spanish to English, lots of different exercises. We look at prepositions, we look at possessive adjective, you know, so it's all those little complements to your Spanish at the end of it. And I am I'm working on so many things at the moment, but there will be a level 5, but that won't be any particular grammar in there. The level 5 that will come out will literally be practicing everything from the other levels, but that's still in the ether at the moment. It's not likely to come out very, very soon, hopefully by the end of this year. We'll see. Okay, so yeah, all backed up on YouTube. And I'm going to put all the videos, all the playlists there. So if you've got the level 4 book, you go into the playlist for level 4 and you can find, hopefully, there are some missing that you know, I am still, that again is still a work in process, but most of the majority of things that are in those level books are on YouTube now. It's just a question of you knowing where to find them. The other thing I just wanted to talk about, sort of tools for learning Spanish at home. There are 3 bilingual storybooks. Now these are all backed up on YouTube as well. Rocky the Rebel or Rocky el Rebelde. Princess Tia's Great Adventure or La Gran Aventura de la Princesa Tia. And Duque el Rey, Peter el Tonto se van de vacaciones, Duque the King and Silly Peter go on holiday. And they are all on YouTube too, so you can listen to them as well as read them. If you have the book, you can read, because they're in Spanish and English. So you've got Spanish and English, and you can compare directly